Hello everyone and welcome. This is General History and this is part 11 of our Panzer Corps 2 playthrough. We have just finished the successful invasion of France. Paris has fallen, and now we are faced with one of the probably bigger campaign splits of the whole game, because this is going to impact the next several missions that we have to, at least the next like 5 or 6 missions. And that is the choice of going to either North Africa with Rommel or participate in Operation Barbarossa. Now, my first playthrough through the game, I did do the Operation of Barbarossa, and it pretty much went the way. Now, granted, a lot of it's scripted, but it pretty much went the way you would expect it to go. Now, there is the ability to get the what-if scenarios if you complete certain bonus objectives in the Moscow and Stalingrad missions. However, these are extremely difficult to do, especially seeing as you have to do the bonus missions in both those missions, especially Moscow. I don't see how anybody, at least maybe on this difficulty level, I forget which, Field Marshal, I think this is, no, it's not Field Marshal, but whatever one we're playing at, the second highest, lowest difficulty level, even on that, I was not even able to come close. In fact, it took me like 5 times playing Moscow to just beat the mission. So it's an extremely difficult task. And it's weird because even though the Germans lost at Moscow, you actually have to win at Moscow to go continue. It's really weird. Panzer Corps 1, you know, if historically the Germans had lost a battle, you are still able to continue. It's not the same way in this one. If you literally do have to win certain missions to continue the game, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. But like I said, we're not doing Barbarossa, we're going to be doing North Africa. So with nearly all of Western Europe defeated, the Axis powers turned their gaze east and prepared to face the massive behemoth that is the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, the Africa Corps continues to battle against the British on a new continent. Strategic warning, this decision will significantly influence your campaign's future. You either continue to fight Western powers or engage the Soviet Union for a considerable amount of battles after this choice. Alright, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and continue our North African campaign.
A fellow veteran of your campaign in France, newly promoted General Lieutenant Rommel, has some intriguing ideas I want to share with you. Rather than just hold the line here, Rommel has suggested a reconnaissance in force. To probe the state of the British forces, yeah? Start here, make contact with the leading British elements, and see just how strong or weak their grip on the desert really is. Should you only encounter limited enemy resistance, perhaps a detour to Benghazi would not be out of the question. Be warned that the African desert is a wide open and hostile place, offering little cover outside of scattered towns and villages clustered around the occasional oasis. So plan your forces accordingly. Depending on the strength of resistance you encounter, I'd like to see if you can scout all the way to the outskirts of Tobruk, here and here. Once your mission is completed, report back to me directly. I will handle any objections from Italian Commando Supremo. But the more successful your recon mission, the easier that will be for me. Do make my life easy for once, Herr General. Dismissed.
Okay, so here we go. We'll go ahead and do unit setup. Avenger gets attack bonus for each point of lost strength. Interesting. Might be good on a tank unit. So that's what we're going to do. We're actually going to put it on a tank unit. Go ahead and assign him. Oh, we actually got 2. Did I not put... Or did I lose the unit I assigned that to last mission? Might have done that. Who was that one? Leadership. Jeez, no all felon units. I actually give him to my recon unit. Alright, so let's go ahead and strengthen up all these forces. Trying to decide. I still have the Green Army perk if you don't remember, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my elite replacements out. don't have many units that took too much casualties. Usually you want to give it to the units that took a ton of casualties. So I'm going to go ahead, give it to that BF-110, and then this 109. So we have a lot of prestige to work with, so I'm not too worried about that at the moment. Now in Russia, I used it up very quickly trying to fight the Russians. So I don't know how things are going to go here in North Africa. Oof, this Duke took a lot of damage. I probably should have used my elite replacements on him because he has like no experience left now. Alright, now let's go through. We have about 8 core slots. Yeah, 8 core slots left to use up. But I think it's too early to upgrade infantry. Yeah, we're not quite at that point yet. I don't think you can upgrade infantry into 43. Let's take a look at what panzers we can bring in. Alright, so we can upgrade our panzers. We also have a lot of different captured vehicles we could use, although not a significant amount of anyone. So we can upgrade all the way to the Panzer H. Now, if I remember correctly, the only real difference between the Panzer H, I believe, had the 75mm gun installed. No, I'm wrong about that. I think it's just the longer barrel 37. It also had upgraded mantlet armor, so yeah, you can see that. So obviously it does have the bigger 37, or is it? Oh man, I can't remember now. No, it was a 40mm gun it was upgraded to. But I know it was I know it had better mantlet armor, like that front armor. You can almost see in the picture the better armor it has here on the front. I believe it still used the same engine. So I'm just looking up if it just was upgraded the length of the gun, or what was the difference in it? SH. So okay, yeah. So it did have a slightly upgraded gun, the 38mm or 5cm. Wait, yeah, sorry, a 50cm gun, or 50mm gun. It was upgraded to from the 37mm. So you see that, and like I said, it does have the upgraded armor protection. So we're gonna go ahead. I got the cash with the prestige. Gonna go ahead and upgrade it all my Panzer IIIs up to the highest level, and it did look like we also have the Panzer 4E, which again, I believe this one only received. It's showing better tank skills, but I think the only difference was the armor, the amount of armor that was added to it. After France, the Germans up armored a lot of their vehicles because they saw how difficult of time they were having. So can't upgrade any of my recon units. Might be a good time to upgrade my artillery. So we do actually have the Nebelwerfer now. Well, let's take a look at my Air Force first. So yeah, we do get the 109F, which gives us more air-to-air and a little bit of extra damage and a lot more initiative. So that's good. What about my... Okay, so we do have we'll upgrade up to the R, the Stuka R. And what about bombers? Doesn't do as well against shipping, but I don't really think we're gonna have that many ships to fight. So for only 30 prestige, we'll upgrade him. Alright, so we have 8 core slots to use. So we've upgraded everything. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's say forget about it. Let's go ahead and upgrade everybody, all my artillery to the 15mm. It's going to use up a couple core slots. I'm okay with that. Kind of want to get the 21mm, but that's gonna be way too much. I'm okay with the 15. So I have some Fallschirmjägers. I should probably make them wear infantry for this battle. Oh, should probably give them a truck. Just because I don't have any air slots anyway to launch them as paratroopers, so I'm okay with that. Got a grenadier unit. Might want to add another grenadier unit, we'll see. So we have 6 more slots to work with. I kind of want to get another Stuka. Not upgrade. So let's go ahead. I'm going to buy another Stuka. So that uses up 3. So I can bring in another infantry unit if I wanted. Could also bring in another tank. You know, we are in the desert. It was a lot of tank warfare. So that might be my best option. Might bring in another Panzer Corps. Yeah, let's do that. Let's bring in another Panzer Corps. Alright, and that completes my forces. So I have 6 infantry units. I just totally forgot about my reserves, but it's okay. I have 6 infantry, 5 tanks, 1 recon, 4 artillery, and a pretty large air force, I would say. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to end the deployment phase. Oh, yeah, I guess that helps if I actually deploy. So I'll deploy my infantry along this road. We do get some Italian infantry, so that's interesting. Throw my armor there. I'll put one of my artillery guns forward as well. Put my recon there. So we have to start in this little corner. Oh no, I don't know if I have enough. Well, what happened? I don't know if I have enough slots for all my. I'm gonna have to take an airbase. Where is there an airbase? Is this an airbase? Yeah, that's an airbase. So I should be able to deploy him once I take that airbase. Alright, so there we go. Yeah, and the deployment phase. I know. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start bombarding this town. Why? Is that it? Oh, that's an anti-tank gun, that's why. Thought that might have been artillery. Oh, that was my pioneer unit. Not too bad, 3-1. So, like the briefing said, we are under the command of the Desert Fox, or otherwise known as Field Marshal Rommel. Now, as I said in one of the earlier episodes, I was going to talk about how I truly feel that Rommel is probably one of the most overrated generals, not only of the war, but, well, I won't say of all time. I mean, Rommel did have his perks. He wasn't a bad commander by any respects. He was actually tactically a genius. In a lot of ways, mirrored Robert E. Lee. Now, let's talk about the background of Rommel a little bit. Rommel was a infantry commander in World War One, where he had won World War One's, for the German side, most prestigious medal, the what was it called? The Pour le Marie, I believe is how it's pronounced. It's basically I would say it's in line with like our Medal of Honor in terms of like how difficult it was to get. But it sort of had the same feeling as the Knight's Cross that the Germans could award. But the Knight's Cross was given out a heck of a lot more than the Pour le Marie. So I just moving all my Air Force forward. So it was a much more difficult award to win. I know they do have an Air Force, so I definitely want to prepare for that. I can't really use my 110. So the Portland Marie was a much more difficult medal to win. I believe only something along the lines of like 500 were given out during World War One. So like I said, very difficult medal to win. So anybody who won that medal sort of got recognized as a hero. Now, Rommel gained more fame in 37 when he released his book, Infantry Attacks. I just realized I forgot to use that infantry. And, oh man, he's getting pounded. Oh, no! What? My Grenadiers surrendered that quickly? That's crap. Alright, let's go buy another Grenadier unit. I don't think they should have surrendered that quickly. Alright, Air Force, get in there. So he released his book, Infantry Attacks, which, like I said, gave him even more notoriety and fame. So by the time the onset of World War I actually started, he was, like I said, a pretty well-known general at the time. I'm actually going to use my 110 to attack their bombers. Now, he wasn't actually assigned any command at the beginning of the war. He was actually assigned to Hitler's bodyguard. So he was very close to Hitler as well. Not just in Germany was he famous, but all around the world, a lot of people knew his name. Of course, if you grew up like I did, watching like movies like Patton and whatnot, obviously Patton very much knew who he was, and now granted, Patton never really faced off against Rommel. Now there's a scene in the movie Patton at El Guitarra where, you know, he screams, "You son of a bitch, I read your book." You know, it's a pretty good scene, I like it, but it's actually no truth to it. Rommel was actually not present at the battle, so he never really, now, I believe, I don't know if Patton actually never actually said that, but he never actually faced off against Rommel. Now, I don't think he ever faced off against him any of the rest of the war either, so, but I'm not positive about that, so don't quote me on that. Get up behind him. Okay, get the overrun. So, like I said, he was very well known. He had a lot of notoriety going into the war. So already, in a lot of ways, I won't say at this point he was overrated, but people definitely knew who Rommel was. And Germany really fed off that. He had a lot of propaganda going his way for that. There's a lot of pictures of him during the early stages of the war. Now he did, after the invasion of Poland, he did finally get his command. He became the leader of the 7th Panzer Division, also known as the Ghost Division. But only when Hitler stepped in. A lot of German high command, from my understanding, actually didn't like Rommel. A lot of it was because Rommel wasn't a Nazi. One of the few generals who wasn't. Well, I won't say few. There was quite a few that weren't Nazis. But because of this, it's really weird. Sorry. That he was never really a Nazi. A lot of people called him a silent Nazi because of the fact that he never really spoke out against it. At least, let me go ahead and replace some of these guys that can hit hard. At least he didn't really speak out against Hitler. Now, the Nazi Party itself, he sort of just put up with. Now, this is either because he was complicit in what Hitler was doing, or it was because he was just wowed over by Hitler. There seems to be a lot of debate of which was the case, whether he was just wowed over by Hitler or he was complicit in the things Hitler was doing. Do this. I can actually rebase and hit him. That worked out perfectly. Now, another thing we have to talk about when we talk about Hitler is his actual military record. Uh, Now, while not horrible, it's definitely not as good as what you would think of when you really hear how well renowned he was as a general. He won battles in France, especially in the early days as they crossed the Meuse. However, if you remember, we talked about how his reports at Arras actually resulted in a huge halt order, which slowed down the German military long enough for the British to bring in reinforcements at Dunkirk, which, like I said, we talked about in that episode, you could point to and say being a huge turning point in that battle. Now, there's debate on whether he truly believed he was under heavy pressure by British and French forces there, or whether he was truly, in a way, kind of showboating, uh, trying to make it seem like he was facing a stronger attack than he actually was. Like I said, there seems to be a little bit of attack bomber, him, attack bomber. There seems to be a little sort of contention there, whether or not which one could be true. Now, like I said, he had those battles in France, but then he was obviously sent to North Africa, which is where we are now. I'm gonna leave him there. Now, Rommel was actually ordered to defend Tripoli. Now, grant, albeit with his orders, I believe, said something along the lines of defend aggressively or something like that. He took that to mean, as sort of mentioned in the briefing earlier, to defend with force, meaning he used the idea of reconning in force in order to defend Tripoli. And obviously because of this, he went on, was that the defense? Was that, okay, that was theirs. He went on the offensive. Now, he won early battles, which we're playing through here. He fought all the way to Tobruk, and then south of Tobruk, where he defended strongly against, as they were sieging Tobruk, he defended strongly against British counterattacks. So he won several early battles in North Africa, but after the first battle of El Alamein, he never really had another significant victory. That was sort of the end of the road for him. In fact, I believe he only had one more victory in the entire war itself, which was at not El Alamein, at Kasserine Pass, where he defeated the Americans as they landed after their landings. Now, El Alamein, I guess El Alamein, I said it was defeat. It was really more of a stalemate. And it was after, was it before the, crap, now I'm getting, I think I'm starting to get my history mixed up, but I can't remember now if it was before the Battle of El Alamein or after the Battle of El Alamein that Montgomery took charge. I believe it was before the Battle of El Alamein that Montgomery took charge, but it was after that, like I said, that Rommel never won another significant battle. Look at that. He's going to lose a little bit because of that Spitfire there, but now, like I said, he did defeat the Americans at Kasserine Pass, and after Kasserine Pass, I believe he got sick, and that's why he was no longer in North Africa at the time. And like I said, I believe that's why he left North Africa. I'm pretty sure it's a sickness. Now, after that, he moved to Italy, but never actually commanded the unit. Now, he did command the forces as they took away, as Italy surrendered. He commanded the forces that I believe just took over possession of like the Italian arms and whatnot. Actually, no, I don't want to move him there. I'll move one of my Panzer 4E's north. To Benghazi. So yeah, he took over command in Italy. Like I said, never really commanded an army in battle there, but he did command forces there. He was then moved to command the Atlantic Wall, and of course, after the Atlantic Wall fell on D-Day, he suffered many defeats after that, as the Allies marched across Normandy. So, like I said, uh, his military accomplishments are actually very few and far between when you look at things on a much grander scale. Like I said, he really didn't have any significant victories other than a few in North Africa and a few in France. So, like I said, where does this idea that he was such a great general come into play? Now, he was forced to kill himself. We never really saw how things proceeded after Normandy, because after the plot to kill Hitler fell through, he was actually implicated in that assassination plot. Now, there is debate to whether or not he was actually a part of it. Most people tend to think he wasn't a part of the plot, although he was, like I said, some of the conspirators did implicate Rommel in the plot to kill Hitler. Ooh, almost lost him. And that's why he was ordered to kill himself, basically to save his family, because it was basically, you either kill yourself or we kill your family, essentially, is what had happened. So he did choose to spare his family by killing himself. Now, it was originally reported that he died in an accident. I believe it was his son came out later and said, no, this isn't true. He was forced to kill himself. Just realized I could go ahead and deploy the torch now. But yeah, his son actually came out and said that this was not true. He was forced to kill himself. And that's where that's where his story ended. So, like I said, why do I actually think he was overrated? For one, let's not forget he was complicit in Germany's roles when it came to the Nazis. Now, like I said, he may not have taken part in any of the Nazi activities, but it's hard to imagine that he A, didn't know they were going on, and B, like I said, if he didn't know they were going, well, like I said, he obviously, it's hard to believe he didn't know something was going on when it came to Hitler and his plans. So he either turned a blind eye to that, or he was totally just wowed over. Now, Hitler did have a way of just doing that to people, sort of just making them see things the way he saw them, kinda. I guess is the best way to describe it. Maybe not. But oh wait, you know what? I can attack that bomber there. So there's that. Sorry, I sort of lost my train of thought there. But so there is that. There is this idea that he was not necessarily, like I said, not necessarily involved with anything that the Nazis did, but he obviously his moral compass didn't steer him away from that. So there is that. Now, almost like I mentioned Robert E. Lee earlier. I mean, almost like Robert E. Lee, he was a amazing battlefield tactician. He knew what he was doing when he got on the individual battlefields. And he was a great leader of men, but he made many mistakes when it came to campaigning, just as Robert E. Lee had done in the American Civil War. So we can't overlook that. He also had a lack of logistical knowledge. Oftentimes, when you read about North Africa and what happened during the battles there, he was oftentimes caught out of position and without supplies. So his logistical ability could be called into question. Now, another reason that points to his, again, almost like Robert E. Lee um, in the American Civil War, another reason you could point to him being overrated is when he faced competent generals, he did not fare well. You know, once Patton arrived, once Montgomery arrived, Eisenhower, Bradley, these are all generals that he often very much struggled against, struggled to defeat. Uh, a lot of and a lot of that claim to fame really comes from that. The idea that he couldn't defeat. Now, what do I mean by that? A lot of that is was the British and the Allies in general, not just the British, basically using their defeats and Rommel's beating them as a way of saying, oh, that's why we lost, is because Rommel was such a great general. It wasn't because that they were incompetent, which is what the truth of the matter is that a lot of the British generals in North Africa, in France, especially in France, and French generals in France, were truly incompetent when it came to commanding their forces in the field. And so they use the excuse of Rommel being such a great commander as a way to basically diminish the fact, or point away from the fact that their own generals were hot garbage, basically, and very incompetent at artillery. I need to get around that artillery piece. Move him into the rear. Bring up some fresh troops. Same here. Just keep smashing that airbase. So, why exactly then, if, in my belief, is Rommel highly regarded when it comes to World War II? Why is he one of these generals that we hold in such esteem when, like I've said before, his accomplishments don't really mirror the way we hold him in such esteem? Like I said, I grew up totally believing in the idea that Rommel was a great can't move him forward, dang. Was a great leader of men, was this very competent general, but like I said, in recent years, I even read his book Infantry Attacks and was like totally wowed over by it. Like, oh my god, this guy was such a good guy, such a great general. Now, a lot of that you can argue is, and one thing you got to pay attention to when you read memoirs, like Infantry Attacks, like Guderian's Panzer Leader book, is these are memoirs, and oftentimes not only is the human mind susceptible to your own, for lack of a better word, awesomeness. You sort of believe in you sort of believe in yourself more than you actually should. It's in a lot of cases. You also can't these books were oftentimes written years later or after the fact, so a lot of times some of the facts can go wrong. So there's a lot of that. So I often caution people when they talk about reading someone's memoirs about taking that for face value. Oftentimes you shouldn't take memoirs at face value and should more or less read biographies. Memoirs are great and are interesting perspectives, but you shouldn't necessarily take memoirs at face value. So, like I said, why is he held in such high regard, in my opinion? Well, one of them is his pre-war accomplishments. Like I said, he was already a hero coming into the war in Germany's mind. Now, the German propaganda machine, a lot of people forget about how influential the German propaganda was in World War II. But the German propaganda machine really truly used his fame as a way to prop him up, and really to sort of put a highlight on Germany's forces there. Another reason he's held in such high regard is basically how clean of a war he fought. Now, he didn't fight on the Western Front, which was in many ways considered a dirty war, and I don't mean that in terms of like how would I say that? I mean that in terms of like how devastating and how brutal the not only just how brutal the war was. I mean the war was brutal all around, but just how uh, trying to think, thinking of a good way to put this together. I'm sorry. In terms of like the treatment of prisoners, the treatment of just forces in general, just the Soviets and Germans did not fight a good war. It wasn't very humane. It wasn't very well put together. There was atrocities on all sides. Now there were atrocities on the Western front as well, but they paled in comparison to the atrocities that were taking place on the Western front. I should have sent all my fighters after that bomber. I don't know what I was doing there. Somehow 110 against them. Like I said, they paled in comparison to what was going on the Western front, or Eastern front. Sorry. His treatment of POWs was also very good, and something that the Allies sort of looked at when after during and post war. And like I said, the idea of German forces or that Allied forces. Oh man, that's an anti-tank gun. I thought it was artillery. Oh god. The idea that man, that guy is just entrenched as heck. I really need to start bombing him. Do I have my bomber up? No. We can move him forward. But yeah, the idea that he really couldn't win against a really good general, and that a lot of his it really overstated how good he was, basically to excuse the fact that, like I said, Allied generals were not competent enough to win at that time in the war, and once the better generals. So it was really like, oh, if you did beat Rommel, you were amazing. So it not only did the service of deflecting blame away from losing those earlier battles, but it also propped up their own generals in the process of the ones who did beat Rommel, like Montgomery, like Bradley, Eisenhower. Like I said, Patton, you could argue Patton, like I said, El Guitar was, I believe, Rommel's plan, but it wasn't carried out by him. So you could argue what happened at El Guitar, whether or not you want to claim that as a victory for Patton. Necessary. It was a victory for Patton, but victory for Patton over Rommel necessarily. You could argue that. What else? Now, and like I said, a lot of what happens in the war comes post-war, or not a lot of what happens, but a lot of this idea of Rommel being such a great general comes post-war too. Now, what it does is it allows Germany, or it allows the Allies to create a new national hero for the Germans, not necessarily just for the German people, because now the Germans are allies. Let's also not forget that, right after right after World War II comes the Cold War with the Russians, and there was actually, we could get into it, but if you actually know your history, you'll know that there were actually plans to immediately start attacking Russia after World War II. Now those plans never came to fruition, but there were those plans in place to actually immediately finish the war with Germany and go into fighting a war with Russia. But that's not what this conversation is about. But like I said, this does open the door for the new Bundeswehr, I think is how it's pronounced, which was the new German army after the fall of the Third Reich. It created a national hero for them that's actually still military bases to this day named after Rommel. His link to the assassination plot and saving his family when he was implicated in that plot also leads to sort of this the sort of romantic idea of him being a much better general than the rest of these generals. This idea he fought on again on the Eastern Front or Western Front, not the Eastern Front. So he fought a clean war. He doesn't have any. There's no taint to his record because he fought in a clean war, unlike generals like Manstein, Guderian, uh, von Rundstedt, who all fought on the Eastern Front. So there is no like taint to his record. He has, like I said, a very clean record. And also, one of the biggest points is he's dead. Sorry, my recording cut out there. Actually, I hit the wrong button. I hit the stop recording instead of end turn button. But one of the biggest points is he's dead. He has no way to speak out. He can't write a post-war book. He can't do anything like that. He's basically, I believe this saying is something like "dead soldiers make the best heroes." But yeah, he can't speak out. He can't defend himself. He can't argue any points. Now, like I said, I don't necessarily think he has anything to necessarily not defend himself for, but like I said, he does have this record uh, of not being a very competent general during the war. Oh wow, I can say it's taking a lot. So, like I said, he's dead, so he can't really do anything about the way he's portrayed post-war. Which is, like I said, heroes tend to make the best. I mean, dead soldiers do tend to make the best heroes in that regard. So yeah, that's my look at Rommel. Like I said, he wasn't a bad general, but I do think he is overrated for his time, or his accomplishments in this case. Nothing to me really screams someone who should have stood out in terms of the way he's looked at today. Like I said, not necessarily anything wrong with Rommel, but I believe he's just way too overrated for his accomplishments during the war. And I think we need to a lot of people need to put it to rest. We can put this conversation to rest because there really is no more reason to prop up Rommel. Like I said, all the reasons for his post-war, propping up, it no longer exists, or is no longer needed. So I think we can sort of forego all this post-war nonsense and this idea that we need to prop up these German leaders, and we can, like I said, put this to bed and move on and let the truth of Rommel speak free. Like I said, he wasn't a bad general. I just think he's overrated. And that's my 2 cents. Like I said, I kind of rambled there for a little bit, but that's just what I believe. Let me know what you think about Rommel. I'd love to know if you think I'm way off base with this, or if you think I am sort of along the same thought process that you are. Just as an attacker him. But yeah, let me know. Actually, I'm gonna not do that. So yeah, let me know. We're gonna actually end this video here and pick up the rest of this battle in the next episode. So thank you all for watching. This is General History signing off. Bye bye.